Do you have a fondest memory of Grandpa, a funny story, something to that effect?
I think I have one particularly fond memory that we did discuss, and I just thought that it was really funny. And this was when Grandpa and Grandma decided they were going to come down to Charleston to view the Hunley, and they had just dug it up. And this is pretty much a story about how Grandma likes to pick on Grandpa. Well, we're walking up the little platform on the way to the Hunley, and everything's going just great. Well, Grandpa watches me as I jump over. Me and my 30 years old decide I'm going to jump over this little barrier. So Grandpa thinks that he's still a young pup, and he feels that he's going to try to jump over that same little barrier. So he tries jumping over it and almost busts his butt. Well, the whole time Grandma's sitting there yelling at him, "Herb, what are you doing, Herb? Herb, you know better, Herb." So what does Grandma do? She follows right and step behind him and does exactly the same thing and falls down and busts her butt. So Grandpa managed to remain standing. We had to catch him. Grandma busts her butt, and the rest of the day she's in misery, and we're all giving her grief because she was giving Herb all these he's bashing him just left and right. What are you thinking? You're no young guy anymore. You can't do that. And then she just follows right and step behind him, does exactly the same thing. So that's probably one of my fondest, most recent memories of Grandpa.
That's funny.
Herb, you're no young kid anymore.
That's funny. All right, try to think back. What is the first memory that you can think of up here of Grandpa? It doesn't have to be funny, just the first time you remember Grandpa.
Looking back, I would have to say this was probably, I guess it was another trip to Charleston, and I believe it was my dad, Grandpa, and myself, and we were going to see the aircraft carrier. It said Patriots Point. I can't remember the name of the aircraft carrier, but it was the first time that I'd ever seen it. I'd lived in Charleston about a couple of years. I'd just come down for college at Charleston. And I just remember he and my dad took a drive down to Charleston to spend a little time with me and view the town. And I just remember distinctly that just spending a day with him. I just remember walking around Patriots Point with him, looking at the aircraft carrier, and just how nostalgic he was. Based on his time in the military years. I guess, well, for Grandpa, I guess that would be what, the Civil War? No, just kidding. World War II.
Well, other than that being, kind of one of the first things around here, think back to when you were really young. And like I said, it doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be very nostalgic. Just there's one point where you just start having memories,
mm-hmm.
right? When you're young, you don't really remember anything up to a certain point. Then all of a sudden, it's just like, well, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a ton of memories now. But can you think of the first one that you had of Grandpa?
It would be
just an image or a staircase or something like that. Going down the staircase or something.
Well, that's one example, but I haven't really been able to determine whether that was my own memory or just something that just made me laugh. But the basement at Grandpa's house, visualizing him trying to walk backwards down the basement steps into their basement. I do remember a time when when I either went up to visit them for a couple of months, or rather it was like a couple of weeks, and it was when I was younger, and I remember going down to their basement and just remembering how big that basement was. And I remember seeing Grandpa working in his little textile area. As you go down the stairs, right on the left-hand side was where he had all of his textiles and he did all of his work. And I just remember one day walking down those steps and glancing in and seeing him actually working. I don't remember exactly what he was doing. I just remember seeing him doing something with his hands. And I don't know why that sticks in my head. I mean, I was young. I was probably, I guess I was about 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old. And I just remember that visual of him actually standing up straight. He was standing up straight and he was working with his hands. So I don't remember what he was wearing. I remember he didn't have white hair. It was a little darker than it is now. But I just remember that.
I guess that was before they took all the ceiling panels down and put them in that room where you're talking about.
There was actually a workshop in there.
Wow. Yeah. So they've been sitting in there, and you keep saying we're going to clean them and put them back up.
Yeah, eventually. Someday, maybe.
And Grandma keeps wanting him to just throw them away because it's never going to happen.
Right.
But I have seen pictures of when that basement actually looked like a room and not just a storage area.
Well, kind of along those same lines. Actually, he did what did he call them? True and Dies or something. I'm trying to remember. Tool and Die. Now, I never actually knew what that was.
Okay, I found out what Tool and Die is. Whenever they say die cast, okay, you're actually casting the die in. I guess if you want to think about it on that easy of an explanation, whatever. But you're literally pouring the metal into the thing, and it's forming in that mold.
Okay.
And then you pop it out. It's a die cast.
Okay, I got you.
But he's doing a tool and die shop where they're literally casting the tools.
Gotcha.
And they're popping them out, and he also does welding and metal work and stuff like that. All those brass looking leaves structures that Mom and Dad have, and then there's one up in Pennsylvania.
That was what he used to do.
Yeah, he made those.
Okay.
I actually got some pictures from Grandma that show him actually making those.
Okay.
And it was in the newspaper, and I actually have the original stock photos that the photographer took, and I have the news article about local man, blah blah blah, Navy veteran or whatever, and they actually showed him making the branches with the leaves on them.
Okay.
That was really neat.
Okay, so now I know.
Do you think our family is his favorite and Grandma's favorite?
When I say I think we were his first. I think that we were his first set of grandchildren because Mom was the oldest. I think that it's just like with Eve, in that Eve will always be the favorite grandchild because she was the first. I think that our family is favored by them because we were the first family. And then it's kind of like as time goes on, it's like been there, done it. So they had their grandchildren, and then the next child has their children. Now they love them; they don't love them any less, but it's not as new, and they don't put as much into it. So
I never thought about it like that.
So when you talk about favorites, that's the way.
How about this? To go on that, do you think he brags about us to his friends compared to maybe John and Art's kids?
Well, we're not as problematic, in my opinion. I think that our family, although we have our faults, quite a few of them, I think that we've all done pretty well for ourselves. And the worst thing that we've done is, for me anyway, is I haven't gotten married and had great grandchildren for him. Our family just has not had as many problems in that area, at least not yet.
Hopefully not. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I think that we've done fairly well, and I think that they have spent a lot of time with us because they we have a fairly large family and they like being around us.
Yeah. I agree with that. Okay, here's a good one for you. I'm gonna be honest. Do you think you are Grandpa's favorite of all of us within our family?
Based on
yes or no?
Okay, well I can't give a yes or no. Based on what I just said, I think at one time I may have been his favorite, just because I was the first. I was the first grandchild, so I got spoiled more than anybody else. But I think that as time has gone on, I think probably Beth is probably now his favorite because he has a great grandchild that they haven't got to spend a lot of time with, but I think that, at least in our family, I think that Beth is probably his favorite. Yes.
So about that?
Yes. So maybe not. Do I think I'm his favorite? It's hard to say. I really have a hard time reading Grandpa. I think he likes me. I think he loves me, but I don't know if I'm his favorite. I don't know how he kind of gauges things like that.
Yeah, I don't know if they necessarily have favorites. I think there's so many of us, but I think they like the fact that our family, like you said before, isn't completely messed up.
Right.
So as a whole in our family, we're just I personally think we are their favorites.
Okay, maybe as a group, I would agree with that.
Matthew's fairly successful.
I think
That's fairly successful.
All of us, and you're starting
married and successful.
Well, and you're well on your way. You're all of us are college graduates.
Yeah.
We all moved on to professions. Beth started her family. I graduated and I moved on to MUSC. That's the buzzer.
Okay.
But all of us have achieved the goals that we put in front of us, and we're all, progressing very well in life.
All right. Is there something that Grandpa gave you when you were younger? Or, I'm looking for younger, but even if there was nothing then, something now that you still cherish today, whether it was an idea or whether it was a tangible, I hang it on the wall object or something?
I'm not a nostalgic person, so I would say off the top of my head I can't think of anything like that. Mm-hmm. However, what I believe that both Grandma and Grandpa gave to me were those little bits of help at the right time. So for me, while I was in college, they always managed once a month to send me down some of those care packages. Now, they may have done this for all their grandchildren, but one thing that I always remember is always opening it up and seeing all that stuff, all that nice, good junk food, the popcorn and just the miscellaneous supplies that you needed to survive, because that was basically all I was eating while I was in college, because everything else was, going out and having a good time and being a college kid, and, food was kind of secondary. But I could always rely on those care packages about once a month to show up, and I'd bust them open, and they have all this food and junk and just good stuff.
Balls.
Peanut butter balls. They always include peanut butter balls.
But how will you feel when Grandpa's gone? And this can be Grandpa, Grandma. I mean, just kind of in the generic sense. How are you going to feel when they are gone? Because I know, they live forever. They're never going to die.
I don't view Grandma and Grandpa like that. I view Mom and Dad like that, because they've been, Grandma and Grandpa have been a large part of my life, but my parents are my parents, and my parents will live forever. My grandparents, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that it's going to happen eventually. Now, how will I feel when they die? There will be a huge void in my life, because there's always that phone call at Christmas or at Thanksgiving to see how they're doing, and have a 15 or 20 minute conversation, or just a general conversation with Grandma, just to see how, see if she's actually improved in her racist views of the world. To see if maybe there's still some hope that, she'll develop some tolerance. But I'll always miss them. I'll always love them. But unfortunately, they did not want to move down to Greenville, and the time that we've got to spend together has become less and less. So it's almost like they haven't been in my life for a while, aside from, maybe a visit here and a visit there. Whereas, my parents are, every time I go up to Greenville, I have my entire family right there. So, yes, I'll miss them. Probably not the best answer, I know. I'm not, I really haven't spent as much time with them as I would like to, and especially in the last 2 years.
Well, I look at it like this. Okay, whenever Grandma Dufala died, I was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And whenever Dad died, I was like, okay, whatever. I feel bad for him.
Right.
But really,
did
completely indifferent.
Did it bother me?
Died, and I had no feeling whatsoever, good, bad, whatever. Now, watching Dad, I was sad for him.
Right.
But I wasn't upset that she died. Now, when Grandma and Grandpa die, I'm gonna, be very upset.
It will definitely be a much more emotional experience for me, because they were a part of my life. They were involved in my upbringing, whereas Grandma Dufala and Grandpa Dufala, they were someone else's parents. I mean, they really weren't my grandparents. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess.
No, that's exactly how I felt too. I don't call them Grandma and Grandpa. I call them Dad's mom and Dad's dad.
Right.
Okay, when you went up to Pennsylvania a couple of years ago, football game, well, how did you feel? Were you more excited about the game, or were you more excited, or at least at first, about visiting them and then going, oh, nostalgia, here's the house that, whatever, or was it just like a, woohoo, I've seen them before, let's go to the game?
I would say that I'm not a nostalgic person, all right? However, it's always nice to go back and see a place that you have spotted memories of how big things were, or remembering them a certain way or from a certain angle, and then going back years later when you're 6 feet tall as opposed to 3 feet tall, and looking to see how small everything actually is and not how big it is. Mm-hmm. So I was really excited about seeing their basement because it had, you know, it shrunk. I always remembered it as being this massive basement. I wanted to see if my actual memory of there being a kitchen all the way in the back in the basement was actually true, if it wasn't my imagination. I remember a story when I was a kid where I went up to visit Grandma and Grandpa. It was basically the same time, and I don't know if they were just trying to get rid of me, just trying, you know, they were, you know, I was too young and they were too old, and at that time they just were like, go down to the basement and play. So I decided I was going to clean up the basement. And in doing so, I found a kitchen and didn't realize that that was once upon a time where Grandma did all of her preserves, and it shocked me. I stumbled onto a refrigerator, and at the time, you know, you're looking and you kind of run into the refrigerator and look up, and it's this huge, massive thing. But of course I got yelled at for that because I took everything out of order. You know, now Grandma and Grandpa couldn't find anything. Everything was completely out of their numbering schema, or however they ordered stuff down there, and I had to put it all back. For the most part, yeah. I had to actually go and reorganize the boxes after I had moved everything, because I had basically taken everything and like shifted it all over to one side, so it was all stacked nicely against the wall, but it was all out of sequence for what they were used to, because they had them all stacked in various locations all through, basically just covering the entire basement floor. So I just tried to organize everything to make some playroom for myself. That was, like I said, that was when I found the kitchen. Whenever I unboxed, or whenever, not unboxed, but whenever I moved all the boxes around, that was when I realized that there was a kitchen over there, because they had it actually barricaded off. And I never knew it was there, because you get 2 boxes high. I could never get past those 2 boxes. So until I started moving stuff around, that was when I saw the island and I saw the lower counter. I would say I was about 6 to 8. I just, you know, I was making my little maze, and you know, I was moving stuff around. And
oh, is that where you got the start of your building mazes and forts?
Yep. It was in their basement.
So then we go back to the, do you remember something that happened with your siblings? So we start building forts down in Grandma and Grandma's basement.
That was when it all began.
Now we've built forts whenever we're at home with rugs
that
are now this big, but we could fit under them when we were little.
That's right. And I don't know if Grandma and Grandpa were down here. This was kind of a good story. But it was I don't know if I collected pets or what the deal was. Pets. Like animals, pets. And I remember Mom and Dad coming home one day, and I don't think Grandma and Grandpa were here, but I remember sitting watching my cartoons, Tom and Jerry or something. I don't remember what was on at the time. And I had 2 dogs, 2 cats, a couple turtles, a couple other miscellaneous pets, all lined up on the floor, all watching TV. I don't remember what the context was. Yes, this is real animals. I don't know why. I don't remember what the context was. I just remember that it was after school. My Mom and Dad hadn't gotten home yet, or Mom had gone out or something, and I just remember it was, I think there was I had like one of the neighbors that was there, and we just brought all the animals inside and just sat there and positioned them right there by the TV, and we're all just sitting there. There were a couple cats involved. I don't know why. You have to ask Mom about that one. Because she gave me that hold. What the? Christopher Michael Duvall, what are you doing?
There were a lot of memories of Graham's house from when we were kids. I remember going down there, just little things, you know, the little measuring stick in the bathroom, and it was a McDonald's thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And just little things like that. The kitchen where they had, you know, the little Pillsbury Doughboy and the mask that hung in the garage.
Right.
Okay, it was stuff like that. When she sold it and everything in it, that was kind of upsetting because we did not have that last look at the place before it was gone, and everything that was in there that you remember is completely gone, and nobody knew anything about it until Grandma calls us and says,
It's
she
gone.
sold it. She just gave it all away.
Right.
Now that it's getting closer to the point where they're going to be gone soon, or one may be gone, one may be moving down here. How will you feel about that? Will it be difficult to know that you may never see it again? Most of us, you said you weren't very nostalgic, but just the idea of going up and going, I remember this, this, and this. Most of us only have periodic memories, 2 years in between, 10, 15 years in between, that kind of thing. Will it be difficult to know that you may never see it again? What is a fond memory that you might have of that house? You've already given me one, so you don't have to say that again, but this could be something you remember when you look at the house. Like you said that already. So will it be difficult for you? Will it be one of those things where you go, I wish I could just go up there one more time, look around and say, okay, this is it?
No, because we're going to be doing that coming up this week for Grandpa's birthday, and I'll get to see it one last time. So will I be upset that it's gone? No, because I've wanted them to move down south for a while, and I thought that it was well past that time. However, one other memory that I did have when you said, are there little things that you look at in their house? And when you brought up the little measuring stick that was in Graham's house, it reminded me of the booth that they had in their kitchen. And I remember crawling under it. I remember when I was a little kid, I remember crawling under it, remembering how much room there was. I remember Mom and Dad, get out of there, it's dirty. And then I remember going up years later after I had gotten bigger and remembering trying to fit under there, and realizing that there really wasn't a whole lot of room under there, and somehow or another I was able to fit. And as I got older, I wasn't able to get in there anymore. But I remember that booth. I remember how tight and compact it was, and it was once you got in, it was a booth in a house. It was the only time that I had ever seen an actual booth in a house. Usually people have a table and some chairs, and that's it, but not a booth. So that was kind of different. So again, I guess to answer your question, will I have that feeling of, will I regret not seeing it one more time, or not? Not really.
Okay, to go on that question, you just say I don't have an answer, or I already answered, whatever. While you're in PA this time, is there something in the house that you want to make sure you see just this one more time, or a place that you want to just stand, like go down to the basement and stand in that kitchen one more time? Doesn't necessarily remind you of Grandpa, but just kind of that house, it belongs to them.
I want to stand in that upstairs bathroom when it actually works. That's what I want. I want to actually see that as a functional bathroom. So I tell you, Grandma and Grandpa, if you can take care of that before I get up there, that'd be muchly appreciated.
Yeah, I'm using that. Answer. Until recently, did you ever think that Grandma and Grandpa would ever actually be gone one day? Or were you under the mindset that they would live forever, just like Mom and Dad?
Grandma and Grandpa saw the writing on the wall. I saw the time coming, because the last couple of times they've come down here, when time goes by and you haven't seen somebody for a while, you can see them age. You can see the difference in age. And the last couple of times I saw the Grandma and Grandpa, there was a big difference in their vitality. They didn't have a lot of energy. They got tired real easily. You could just tell that they were getting much weaker. So, I kind of came to that realization that they were not going to be living forever. Now, Mom and Dad, they're still working, 60 hours a day and, nonstop, and they're living forever.
If you knew this was the last time you would ever see Grandpa, do you know what you would say?
I would say thank you for always being there. Thank you for all the care packages. For being a good grandparent, for being a part of my life. I wish that I could be as good an uncle to my niece as you were to your grandchildren. And I guess that just means being a good person. So
it really just comes down to just thank you, and I love you, and I appreciate everything that you did for me. It really helped me it kind of helped to mold me into the person that I am today. It helped to get me through some really rough spots. Little simple things that people don't think about, little care packages. I keep coming back to that because those helped me over a tough spot. I probably would have starved if I didn't, if I didn't have them. But always remembering my birthdays. Always the checks that they send once a year. It's just a nice little saying thank you for, or just go out and have a good time, buy something that you like. That was just always nice. Grandpa, happy birthday to you. I love you. Thank you for always being there, and I wish you well.